puedo expresar. Mi raza está olvidando su ayer y no lo puedo evitar. Un inmenso dolor y no lo puedo expresar. Mi raza está olvidando su ayer y no lo puedo evitar. Quisiera ser como un rayo de sol que alumbre el amanecer y con su luz hacer comprender lo que Latinoamérica es. Hermanos del norte hasta el sur, un solo idioma, una realidad. Vamos hermanos, nos van a escuchar, con voces de apoya vamos a cantar.
First of all, open up your mic. Good afternoon, everybody. Today we are on the third day of our second anniversary week dedicated to STEAM. So today we have a special guest that is coming from Asia, the other part of the world. Imagine that. Mr. Dalton Flanagan. He is a technology coach and also he is working with the Makerspace and other interesting methodologies to use STEAM in your classroom. So today he's here in order to share with us all his experience and great ideas for us to begin practicing in our classes. So let's welcome Mr. Dalton. Come up here. Hello.
Hello. Thanks for the introduction.
Thank you for coming and also for opening this space to come here and share with us what you have done in your class, especially with these STEAM methodologies. Can you tell us something about your job, your experience, and
Yeah,
where
sure.
are you located?
Yeah, I'm currently in Hong Kong. This map behind me is a map of Hong Kong, but I'm sure it's pretty hard to read. So in 2010, I left the US and I started working overseas. I've worked in Thailand and Cambodia and now Hong Kong. I started out as a primary teacher, and I've switched to technology coach, and currently I'm teaching computer science in the British curriculum. So it's a little bit different for me, and I'll be going back to being a technology coach next year. So just done a few different roles.
Exactly. And now technology, which is really, really important to have in our classes. We have to change that myth that only the technology teachers are in charge of that. Now, all teachers from all subject areas are connected to in a certain way with technology, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good perspective or attitude to have, especially as a tech. When I was a technology coach, when I wore that hat, like being able to collaborate with the teachers was the most effective for the students. When we could co-teach together and everybody was involved in the technology and the STEAM.
Exactly. And in today's topic, you're going to explore something about AI, artificial intelligence. That is something sometimes makes all teachers nervous about because they think that is way too high in order to understand or to apply, right?
Hmm.
But I think that is closer than we think, right?
Right. 33% of people think they use artificial intelligence, but it's actually more like 70% of people. And I'll cover some of that in the talk. But yeah, it's everywhere and it's here, so we should learn a little bit about it.
Exactly. So, okay, so the space is all yours. All right,
Okay,
so
thanks a lot.
we're going to show your presentation
Okay.
and welcome to this space.
Okay, thanks a lot. So today I will be talking about creative applications of AI, hopefully make some classroom connections and practical applications that you can take back to your own classrooms and start using right away. I'd love it if you're able to join the slides. So if you type in bit.ly/AI create, you can share this, you can see the slides, you can actually make a copy of them. When I was and I think the link was shared in the chat as well. When I was creating these slides, I created them for a longer presentation, so there's actually extra slides in there. If you're interested and you want to explore, you can go through all of them. You can make a copy. You can obviously get in touch with me if you have questions. Let me move on to the next slide. So I will cover like the introduction, what is AI, where it's used. We'll cover some AI art. I'm starting there because that's kind of where I started with my journey. Oops, I went a little bit fast. And I'll go over some classroom connections. And I'm hoping we have a chance to practice some of our prompt engineering. And so this is the last slide that has the bit.ly link on it. So hopefully people are able to connect. If there's any issues, just write inside a chat for me, please. So who am I? I'm Dalton Flanagan. I talked a little bit about that already. You can connect with me on Twitter at Desert Climber. When I first started using Twitter, I was living in Arizona and I was rock climbing a lot. So I made a handle that doesn't quite match with my education focus now. But I have I had some followers that I wanted to keep, and I've never changed it. So that's why I have an at Twitter called Desert Climber. I have a website, daltonflanagan.me, where I try to share everything I'm doing in the classroom. You'll notice things on Twitter will come first, and then when I get around to it, I will post on my website usually eventually. And I also have a YouTube channel where I make some coding videos for my students and things like that. So please do connect. I love to see what people are doing, and definitely in other parts of the world. So this is the introduction. What is AI? I'm going to try to keep it pretty simple because that's how I like to explain it to my students as well. AI is a branch of computer science focused on simulating the human intelligence. So artificial intelligence simulating human intelligence, it matches up with the name. AI models can act similar to the human brain. They can perceive, synthesize, infer information. Machine learning is a branch of AI, which has, there's been a lot of like machine learning models that have really taken off recently. Chat GPT, which we'll talk about, and Stable Diffusion, some of these. And one thing that I find really interesting is that they really started taking off when the AI was able to pay attention, was able to self-focus on certain parts of the content. And it came out in a paper called All You Need Is Attention. And it's really interesting. If you're interested in that, you can look at it further, but I'm not going to cover it too much in this talk. Where do we see AI? So as I mentioned before, only 33% of the people think they're using AI in their daily life, but it's actually more like 70% of people. We use it when we're doing Google searches. We use it when we're maybe on a streaming site and they're recommending content. YouTube will use an AI algorithm to recommend which videos to watch. Same with Spotify, Netflix, Amazon. Maybe you're traveling, you're going someplace and you're using navigation. So Waze is one that I use, and I know Google Maps does it as well. They'll use artificial intelligence to figure out the quickest route to take and also try to avoid some of the congestion. Of course, Siri, Alexa, these digital assistants, they use AI. Grammarly, if you have that Chrome extension, that uses AI to try to improve your writing. Duolingo uses AI to try to help you learn new languages. And let's see, this one is Google Lens, which it's like an image classifier. You can take a picture using it and it should be able to identify what you're taking a picture of. Snapchat filters, they use AI. This one was a little bit more obscure. I don't know if anybody recognizes that one, but that is a logo for Waymo, so self-driving cars. So that decision-making they use in self-driving cars is also using AI. And of course, that hashtag we've seen all over Twitter, ChatGPT. If you're interested in learning more about where AI is in your daily life, you want to introduce that to your students, there's Google has an applied digital skills AI in your daily life that walks through that. That's really easy to use, and it's easy to guide the students through that. So if that's something you're interested in, that's one of the classroom connections there at the bottom, that link to the Google Applied Digital Skills. What kind of problems can AI solve? So this is a really interesting video. In this video, they're using AI to like monitor the rainforest and tell to see if there's a chainsaw running. So AI is really good at noticing patterns or changes in patterns. So here in the rainforest is filled with sound. It's really loud, but the AI is good at determining when that sound changes and when there's a chainsaw running somewhere near that microphone that's been placed in the rainforest. So noticing those complex patterns, also decision making, like self-driving cars, or also maybe like a job that might be too dangerous for people to do, that AI would be good to step in there. At the bottom of the slide is the link, AI for the global goals. So if you're working with the SDGs or you think that's a good intro into AI, there's lots of other projects other than just this rainforest connection that maybe might give you an intro into talking about the SDGs and AI with your students. So that's another way that I was able to bring it into some of my classes and talk about it with my students. I'm going to start with AI art. The reason why is that's kind of where I started recently in my deep dive into AI. I think it was in August, maybe August of last year, Midjourney came out, and pretty quickly afterwards, Stable Diffusion was released. So these are both text to image generation, deep learning AI models. So I don't know if anybody has seen this picture before, but this picture was quite important because this picture was entered into the Colorado State Fair and ended up winning first prize. And when the person went up to collect the prize, he said that he had used Midjourney to create it, which is an AI text-to-image generation. And a lot of the artists were really upset, rightfully so. Somebody put AI art ? In the comments. I like that. Oh, right. That's a lot of artists will not see this as art. A lot of artists are upset about it, and I understand that. So this Jason Allen ended up annoying a lot of artists by using a text-to-image AI generation to win the first prize in the Colorado State Fair. So it brings up like a lot of questions. Who should get that award? Should he be able to receive that? Personally, I think there should be a different category and not, and it shouldn't be taking away from the artist. And I'll get a little bit more into that as well with these slides. So Midjourney is the first one I started using. You can access it on Discord. If you're interested in it, you can click on this link and you can go there. Later on, I'll talk about Stable Diffusion, which is a little bit easier to access and a little bit easier to use. But if you're interested in the Midjourney one, the link is there. This is an image that my year 10 students created. The prompt is down at the bottom. So they typed in the prompt, which is like the text, Art Nouveau, giving it a style, futuristic, Nicolas Cage tree. So I'm not exactly sure what the Nicolas Cage tree is, but they use this prompt to generate these images, which I thought was quite beautiful. And I thought that they just started using it right away, and they're able to create this pretty amazing artwork. So that's one thing that I've included in here to show you how my students were able to access it right away. Greg Rutkowski is very angry about this. So who is Greg Rutkowski? He's a Polish artist. His art is seen everywhere. This is an example of his art from Horizons Forbidden West, I believe, is the name of a video game. So he does a lot of art for video games and a lot of art for Dungeons and Dragons. And people are using his name in prompts. So in the text to enter into the image generator, they're using his name over and over again. His name's being used hundreds of thousands of times. And so there's being a flood of art that looks like his that is not his art. And he's understandably very upset about this because he didn't have a choice whether his art was used in the model. So to create the model, let's talk about Stable Diffusion. To create this model, Stable Diffusion, there was 5.6 billion images used to train this model. And the artists that have their artwork in that 5.6 billion, they don't have a choice in that. It was just scraped from the internet using a bot and entered in. And it's actually, there's a lawsuit about that. I think I have a slide in here about that. So what Greg Rutkowski thinks is AI models should exclude living artists from their database to make it more fair for the artists. And I would tend to think they should have a choice as well. There's one of those ethical questions. There's a lot of ethical questions surrounding AI, and this is one of those interesting, complex ethical questions that I think needs to be addressed. Right now, there's so many different like copyright and rules and regulations for every area is different surrounding AI. So we really need to, it's one of those areas where the technology has gone faster than like the laws to govern it. Okay, what can you do with some of these models? So I mentioned Stable Diffusion before, and I'm going to show you how you can access that in a little bit. But using Dream Booth, which allows you to train a model on just like 20 pictures, and using Stable Diffusion to generate like the background, you can put yourself in lots of different situations. So I did this using a Google Colab, and I linked the Google Colab at the bottom. A Google Colab or a Google Collaboratory is a space where you can run Python code in a web browser. The code is already written for you, but basically you have to go through the steps to upload your images, train the model, and then give it a text prompt to create different images. This is, some of these look a lot like me. Some of these look a little bit less like me. But it was a lot of fun finding out the different prompts, putting them in and seeing what it looked like. So I included that here. It's one of the things that you can do with these text-to-image generation models. Another thing you can do with these text-to-image generation models is animate. So this is an animation from, the music is music that my nephew made. And then the text prompt I used in Stable Diffusion was, I think it was octopus and in a certain style. And so we'll watch this, we'll see how it works, because it doesn't look like your normal animation. Okay, I'll stop it there, but I hope you get the idea. When you're watching that, it's kind of flickering and changing really quickly. So what it's doing is it's taking the previous image and it's putting it into the model again with the same prompt. And so it's changing slightly over time, and you get that kind of flickering response. Somebody just asked about a specific math app within AI. There's definitely lots of math apps, and it's depending on what you're looking for, but one really powerful one is Wolfram Alpha. So Wolfram Alpha uses AI to solve like complex equations and things like that, but there's other ones as well. I don't have too much of that in my slides right now, but if you want to connect with me on Twitter, I'd love to discuss that with you. Let me go to the next slide. So how can you access Stable Diffusion? You can access Stable Diffusion through Dream Studio. When you enter, I think you're given 200 to 400 credits to use for free. So if you're creating only one image at a time, you're going to be able to use it for a while to experiment with Stable Diffusion. The reason why you only get 200 to 400 credits at first is because you're using the Dream Studio web application. So it makes it really easy to access. But then the company that made the web application, they charge eventually. You reach a paywall. There's ways around that. So Stable Diffusion was created by OpenAI, and the source code is open and the program is free. And that's kind of their philosophy. Their philosophy is AI for the people, by the people, I believe, or by the people, for the people. One of those. And they really want to open AI up, because the models, currently only the big corporations have enough money to create these deep learning models. It used to be that the innovation would come out of universities and academia. Today, the only real AI innovation is coming from those huge models that are only accessible from the corporations that have this huge budget and can create these enormous computers. So that's why I think Stability.ai is bringing something new to the space by trying to open it up and create some free software and some open source code. And let's see, what did I want to say about this? Okay, so this image is linked to Dream Studio. So you can click on the image and you can go to the Dream Studio link and test it out for yourself, try out some prompts. And if you run into that paywall, you can also, there's other ways to access Stable Diffusion, like in a Google Colab, or you can actually download it on your computer if your processor is powerful enough. Lexica, I included this website as well. And again, if you click on the image, it's a link to the website Lexica. I included this one because this one will have all the images and all the prompts. So you get to see what images were being able to be created, but also what text prompt was used to create that, which I find really interesting. This idea of generating text prompts is now called text engineering. It's kind of a new space. I think I'll talk more about that later. Okay, how can we connect some of this to our classroom? And I'm just going to be checking the chat every now and then just to make sure there's no questions, but feel free to throw one in there if you guys, if anybody has one. So there's a quote from Fei Li. As a technologist, I see how AI and the fourth industrial revolution will impact every aspect of people's lives. So as AI progresses and becomes more and more capable, we're going to see it more and more, and it's the growth is going to be exponential. So that's a quote that I wanted to include in there. May 18th, Day of AI. May of 18th has been marked as the Day of AI. So if you're looking for a good time to introduce your students to some of these concepts of AI, May 18th is a good day to do it. This is a link right here to the Day of AI website. When you go there, you can register. It's a really simple registration. They give you they email you a passcode, and then you can use that passcode to access their materials. So they have materials for, I believe, all grade levels from maybe kindergarten through year 12. So all primary and secondary school. And you're able to follow along with their lesson plans and give the students a better understanding of the AI landscape. How let me move on to the next slide. But here's a link to the registration. It's really easy to register. They give you a password right away, and a lot of great resources to introduce. So some of the resources that they'll give you is Quick Draw. Now you can access this Quick Draw as well on Google Experiments. The reason why this is a good activity to start with is because it's fun. You get to draw shapes and the AI will recognize them, which I think is pretty incredible. But also, it talks about the data set used to train Quick Draw. This is the largest, they say the world's largest doodling data set. And not only do they save the image that was doodled, they save the way the image was drawn. So which line was drawn first. And that helps the AI notice these patterns. It's the same kind of technology that was used in Google Translate. So when you're writing words in Google Translate, it also notices those patterns of which lines were drawn first and adds them to a data set. So why is this a good activity to start with? I think so because you can talk about the data. You can talk about the data used to train the models, and you have access to the data for Quick Draw. If you're interested in trying this one out, it is linked. I'm just trying to keep my eye on time as well. I think I will move on, but that is a link there if you're interested, and you can get that through Day of AI as well. My students, we made an image classifier as well, which helps the students learn about how to train these. It's a very simple image classifier, but you can train the model to recognize yourself or somebody else. I included the lesson guide on that slide as well if you're interested, but you can also get that lesson guide through Day of AI, and the registration is really easy. Okay, let's talk about ChatGPT. Please let me know inside of chat if I'm going too long. I don't want to take up your time too much.
Everything is going really, really well. I think that all the resources that you have shown and the links to these new technologies are really interesting. So thank you for that. And there are some of the resources that we didn't know about, like the beginnings with Midjourney. And we agree with you that the ethics behind AI should be also something that we can discuss at our school. And the Day of AI, that's an interesting curriculum, something that teacher might look for. It has resources, as you said, for elementary, middle, and high school. Our school is already registered. Last year, we had the participation of our students with Miss Betsy. she also helped the students go through it, and they spread the word about the ethical use of AI. So thank you for breaking that out. And your time is well. Don't worry,
Okay.
you're doing
Okay.
just great.
Great. Thank you so much. That's excellent that you've had an introduction to the day of AI, because I think that stuff is really incredible. Okay, so ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? Well, GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So I think generative, we understand it's generating text, or it's generating natural language. Pre-trained, we understand it. It's been fine-tuned or trained on some specific text. And transformer, now we're not talking about the robots that can convert into a car or anything like that. It's just an architecture of a natural language processing AI. So it's just a different way of creating this intelligence that can kind of speak or type or talk like us, like a human. Okay. So I don't normally do this, but I'm going to read this slide. Generative pre-trained transformer is a type of computer program that is trained to write text. It's like having a computer writer that has read lots of books and articles and has learned how to put words together to make sentences and paragraphs. After it learned, the computer writer can be used to write things such as news articles, poems, or even this conversation. The pre-training process is like the computer writer reading many books, and the fine-tuning process is like giving the computer writer a specific topic to write about. So I don't know if you guessed, but this slide was written by ChatGPT. So I asked ChatGPT, can you explain what a generative pre-trained transformer is in simple terms with an analogy? And this is what it came up with. I think one of the amazing things with ChatGPT is its ability to remember. So you can have an actual conversation with ChatGPT. I think my first prompt was, can you explain what is a generative pre-trained transformer? And it came out with a good explanation, but the explanation was a little bit too wordy for my liking. So all I had to do is say, could you say that again in simpler terms with an analogy? And it remembered my previous prompt, and it could generate this new text because it can remember and store so much. So I think that's what's so amazing about ChatGPT. And we have to be careful with it because it hallucinates. It will make up information when it's trying to answer some of your questions. So whenever I use ChatGPT, I use it as a starting point, but I never use it as like a finished product. I don't ask it to generate questions for my computer science class and then just use those questions. I need to go over it myself and make sure it's not hallucinating and making up incorrect information. Because while it's really good at sounding like a human, it is not always the most accurate. Right with a transformer. So what does a transformer do? We mentioned it's a different type of architecture. In simple terms, basically, it's trying to guess what you want to write next. So it's given different weights and biases to the words that maybe you're typing in, and then it's using those weights and biases to respond. And it's using kind of just like what word will come next, kind of like that autocomplete that you'll see when you're typing a message on Messenger or something like that, when it auto completes for you. That's kind of how a transformer is working. It's kind of guessing at what the next word is going to be. And that's kind of why you get some of those incorrect information, some of that false information, because its goal isn't to be accurate. Its goal is to sound like a human. And if you're interested in trying this, you can click on this link. This image is linked to a website called Write with a Transformer, and you can try it out. ChatGPT. Okay. This is a prompt that I used for ChatGPT where I said, I want you to act like Holden Caulfield from The Catcher in the Rye. I want you to respond and answer like Holden using the tone, manner, vocabulary Holden would use. Do not write any explanations, only answer like Holden. You must know all of the knowledge of Holden Caulfield. My first sentence is, hi, Holden. So that's a long prompt, and that's kind of getting into how important prompt engineering is. So being specific and understanding exactly how to engineer the AI to respond the way you want is a new field. There's jobs out there in prompt engineering, which I find fascinating. To get you started off and thinking about some of these prompts, there's a link here called ChatGPT prompts, and this is a curated list of different prompts that work really well in ChatGPT. So if you're looking to get started and try something out, I recommend checking out these lists. I think I'm going to try to share this list with you. I think I have to stop sharing my screen and share this list really quickly. Share screen. Okay. I hope you're able to see this. This is the awesome ChatGPT prompts. So when you're getting started with ChatGPT, you can find one that you think might be useful. So here's one: act as a storyteller. Maybe you're an English teacher and maybe you want to teach students like the beginning, middle, and end of a story, making that story arc or that story mountain. Maybe you want to show the students a simple example. You could use a prompt similar to this one. You might want to add in, make sure you have a specific beginning, middle, and end, be really specific with what you want to see. And then you and your students could dissect that story. Does it have a good beginning? Does it have a good middle? Does it have a good end? Is there a conclusion? Is the character able to solve his own problem? You know, you could really analyze the stories that ChatGPT is coming up with. So I think having some prompts already written down that you can read and go over is a really good resource. That's why I included this one here. And why I wanted to share my screen and make sure you saw it. There's some interesting ones. Act as a math teacher. I want you to act as a math teacher. I'll provide some mathematical equations or concepts, and your job is to explain them in easy terms. I've used this with my computer science teachers because ChatGPT is pretty good at coding. It's one of the models that one of the data sets it was trained on was Codex, so this large amount of code, and it kind of gave the AI model some logic. So it can, if you ask it to create a simple Python program, it's really good at doing that. We were learning bubble sort in computer science, so we asked it to create a bubble sort algorithm, and it was able to do that. I'm going to go back to my slides. Bear with me just a moment. Okay, great. So if you're looking to get started with ChatGPT, I recommend those prompts. Once you understand how to lay out those prompts on your own, you can get really creative and start making some of your own. So we talked about a few classroom connections there with ChatGPT, but there's so many classroom connections, and it really depends on the age level, the content that you're teaching, and I think the best way to do it is to go through those prompts, look at them, then you make your own connections, be creative, and adapt it for your direct situation. This is an example of how we kind of connected the text to image generation to our classes in school. So the students were learning in a class called Positively Kellett, where they're learning about the SDGs and how we can best address them. So one thing we asked the students, what would Hong Kong look like if it achieved the SDGs? And what would it look like if we didn't achieve the SDGs by 2030? And so we had the students use some of the text to image generation. Some of them created like utopian scenes, and other ones created really dark scenes if the SDGs weren't reached. So I thought this was a creative way of bringing some of the AI models into class and actually giving the students a chance to try it hands-on. Prompt engineering. I talked a little bit about that. I gave you the sample prompts. There are jobs out there for prompt engineering. I found this fascinating. We can all start practicing prompt engineering. Maybe we can get a new job in the future. I just find that things are changing so quickly, and these new jobs popping up all around AI, and it's quite hard to keep up with. I did include some hands-on activities, but I think I might have gone a little bit too long. So I've given you all on this slide right here, you have a link to Dream Studio, so you can try out some of the text to image generation. You can click on examples, so you can see other people's images and their text prompts, so you can kind of start building your own text prompts. Then there's also a link to ChatGPT and also a link to some example prompts, so you can practice generating those. So for me, I always like to try it out myself, experiment with a little bit before I start bringing it into the classroom. So that's why I included that there. And I think maybe we will end there, unless anybody has any questions or wants to go into any of it a little bit further.
Yeah, so I don't think that the questions, well, we only had Celsius for the AI in math, but you already explained about Khan Academy and Wolfram Alpha, right?
Yeah.
That use some kind of AI. And
Mhm.
I think that is important to say that everything related to AI needs a huge set of data, so the and also to train the machines or the browsers, right? Can you
Mhm.
just can you please just give a little insight about this? How does it really work behind the scenes?
I can give a little bit, sure. And I'm going to point you in the direction of a video as well if you're interested in learning more. So as I said, I included a lot of slides in here because I'm going to be presenting other places as well. So
Which is great.
this
Yeah.
video right here, A Complete Shift in Society, gives you it's a little bit of a long video, but I watched it. I was really fascinated by it, and it gives you a good background in kind of where we're at in the ecosystem of AI. As I mentioned before, the computers used to create these deep learning models like ChatGPT with OpenAI or with Stable Diffusion or even just the larger models, they need a computer that is so large that there's only the large corporations that can create these models, that can create these large deep learning models. So you start with an enormous computer, an enormous data set, and you train. So let's talk about ChatGPT. They started with an enormous computer. They started with an enormous data set, and they trained the AI to make connections between the words.
Yeah, exactly. And the
But
more
they
data it
weren't.
has, better outcomes.
Yeah. But they weren't quite done there, because then they had to go back and they had to do some pre-training. So they had to have the humans point out, say, um, give it a prompt, have like 3 or 4 responses, and then pick the best ones. And they did that over and over again to try to point this AI model kind of in the direction of how people would speak, how humans would speak. And I think that's an important part of it. And also, I mentioned before the ability that ChatGPT has to pay attention, to focus. So this transformer model is allowed to self-focus on certain parts of the text that it finds more important than others. Yeah, so there's a lot of
Exactly.
information out there, and we're just
Yeah.
scratching the surface, but it is quite interesting to learn how it's able to speak just like a person. Yeah.
Exactly. And the same is happening with, several teachers use Canva, this
Yeah.
platform for designing, and now it has a very good resource and data that it has a little part where you can create your own designs using AI. So imagine all the data that all the teachers and all the users have been inputting, and now the platform is using it for creating something new.
Yeah, that text to image generation that Canva has actually uses an older version of Stable Diffusion. So it's that same model being
Yeah.
used again. And you'll notice like a lot of these new AI tools. I think this image is kind of funny. A lot of these new AI tools, sometimes they're just links to call up GPT-3 or to call up another model. So
GPA.
there's all these different tools, but a lot of them are using the same technology behind the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you for clarifying that. All right. Um, so we'll give you some more minutes to close your presentation.
Okay.
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 Thank
Thanks
you,
a lot.
Dustin.
As I said, I've included lots of slides in here, so hopefully you have access to these. I wanted to make this some resource that you can explore on your own, and I've included some articles that I liked, and a couple of videos, and some courses if you're interested in taking a deeper dive. There's lots of free courses out there. As I said, you can connect with me on Twitter, on my website, my YouTube channel. I don't think I've updated as much recently. There's a couple things on there, but if you are interested in connecting with me, probably Twitter is the best. And if you have any questions, you can write them in chat. Otherwise, I really appreciate everyone's time. I hope this was useful. I hope you're able to pull something out, and maybe you're able to make some actual classroom connections to AI in your own classroom.
Yeah, okay.
Oh,
Alberto
my Twitter
Flores.
is
Uh-huh.
@Desert Climber. So
Disclaimer.
yeah, because I climbed in the desert when I made my Twitter. It's not the best app for an educator, but my focus on Twitter is education.
Yeah, yes. So that's your Twitter. That is where we can find you.
Yeah.
Yeah, in GEG Guate, we have gone over the AI topic twice because we have gotten to this ISTE course, uh, hands-on explorations on AI, which
Mm.
is really, really interesting, and it has helped us understand a little bit about this. So this is one of the favorite topics to
Yeah,
discuss
the
in GG
ISTE.
Guate. So thank you for coming, really.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great to be here.
Yeah, have you seen that ISTE workshop? Yeah.
Yeah, I have, and they actually have some workbooks on different grade levels as well. So there's a lot of great resources from ISTE.
Yeah, great. And right now on the screen, you're checking the Wakelet space for the event, and this is day 3, which is it shows all the resources that we have for you from Dalton's presentation. You're going to find the slide deck, his LinkedIn profile, and his Twitter. Okay, and also the resources we have added some of the links that Gualberto Flores, he's our learn captain, um, to he sent those links to us, so we included them into the Wakelet collection. And
Oh,
also
great.
you're going to see the participation form. If you fill it in, you're going to get your attendance certificate right away. All right. So thank you, Dalton. I don't know if you would like to say some words to
Oh,
our
just thanks for having me, Sheila. It's
people
been
here.
great, and yeah, I'll keep looking for everyone on Twitter, and maybe we can keep that connection going.
Yeah, please, let's do so. Gigi Wati already follows you, so so we're connected over there. And
Great.
also on the chat, we're leaving the certificate link so the people who attended live can fill it in right away. So thank you for so much for your time
Thanks a lot for
and
having me, Sheila.
ideas. Thank you,
Okay.
thank you. So we're going to close this. Thank you. So don't forget to click on the bell so tomorrow's um, presentation will be ready for you right into your um, YouTube channel. So thank you for coming today. Hope to see you tomorrow. Bye bye.